what's something that you're looking to accomplish within the next 12 months?
Sure. So in the next 12 months, it's always to beat last year's goals, which is pretty important to me. And in full transparency, and I can't believe I didn't mention this. So last year, on top of everything else, I was a top producer in my brokerage. I made the top 10 a couple of different times throughout the year.
Nice.
But I lost everything on January 12th last year. My house burnt down, like, to the ground. I lost everything. So you had that element. So I could have done a lot of things like fail and just feel sorry for myself and not sell a single house, and which would have been a real mess, or double down. And I ended up last year, a lot of business was down more, give or take. So that was that in a challenging market. That was really good. So this year, my challenge for myself is, again, to do even better this year. Not necessarily on dollars, but just increase my business and my relationships, at least by what I did last year, to keep growing.
Yeah.
Which is good.
What was it for you as far as, someone going through a life-changing experience like that to, you could easily have taken half a year off, right? And sat in that moment and, be grateful, and also at the same time be scared, right? What was it for you that allowed you to just channel getting back into doing the business? Because I always tell agents that, the one great thing about our industry is, if you want to take today off or this week off or the next 2 weeks off, it doesn't hurt you in the moment, but it's going to hurt you down the road.
Right.
Right. And that's a big life-changing thing that, you could have easily taken 1, 2, 3 months off of work to
Right.
Pick up the pieces, and you got a family and all of those things, but you decided that, no, I got to get back into my business and focus. Like, how did you go through that process?
Well, the first couple months were honestly a blur. So January 12th was the day the fire happened. And then, mind you, on January 13th, I had 2 closings at 8 a.m. in my office. So I had to go buy clothes at Walmart that night, and make sure that I was at least had clean clothes to wear the next morning. But I dialed in on that. My both of those clients were wonderful people, and it was a life-changing event for them. Both of them, the one lady moving back to Mount Vernon, the other one was a first-time homeowner. So we really embraced each other through all of that. So it was a pretty emotional day. He's buying his house for the first time. She's coming home. And then I'm just happy I'm alive at that point, and so is the rest of my family. So that was an emotional day. And I realized how important relationships are, not that I didn't appreciate them before, but just the intensity of a relationship. So that was a really big deal. And then it just the love and outpouring of so many people just to help me survive, because I didn't know where I was going to stay, what I was going to do. And it was just all of a sudden people started showing up. Clients and friends of mine were like, here, you're going to stay on our Airbnb. And then other friends were like, here, we have meals for you. Here, we have clothes. We have these things coming. And which really allowed me to regroup, rest, figure out what's happening. Because through it all, you had fire investigators at our house. We're picking through rubble in January, not fun by any means. And then, a couple weeks after it happened, you just start thinking, I can either let this just eat me alive, or I can really dial in. And that's what I did. I dialed in, and I looked at my husband. I looked at my boys. I ran in, I saved my dog and my rabbit out of the house. So that was another challenge. I had everything I needed. And that was the big thing for me, is I just dialed in, and I was like, well, if this is important to me, we're going to get our life back on track. And we're going to get after it. And we did, all of us, my husband with his job, myself, my kids with their school. We just really focused as a family to just throw ourselves into what we needed to do to get through. And fast forward to May, I was in the top 10 in my entire company. And I think there's I don't know, 800 people. And honestly, that was not my goal at all. My goal was not to be, I want to be in the top 5 or whatever. My goal was just to make a difference, make an impact, and do my job well. And I looked up and I was like, I did what?
Yeah.
So, and that's what happens when you dial in. You're more focused on the daily things than the big picture.
Nothing else mattered.
No, nothing else mattered.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a book, I'm sure you may have heard it, and the listeners may have heard it, called The One Thing by Gary Keller.
Mhm.
And the one thing that I took away from that book was getting to the point where you focus on one thing, and that one thing could solve for all of your other problems. But when you focus on that thing, and in our world as real estate agents, it should be lead generation and prospecting.
Right.
But when you focus on that one thing, you have to be okay with potentially everything else around you being in chaos.
Right.
Right. And then, the story that he uses in there is Stephen King, right? Is Stephen King because of just his talents, or is Stephen King because of his talents and he only focuses on writing,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And he writes every single day. So as a real estate agent, are you prospecting every single day, right? Because we don't have money problems. Coach Michael Burt, who's someone you guys should all follow, he says we don't have money problems, we have people problems.
Mhm.
If you're not making enough money, it's because you're not contacting enough people, right? You don't have enough people in that database, right, to reach out to let them know that you can help them with buying, selling, or investing in real estate. So that's just an awesome testimonial to you of diving back in, and being top 10 in your brokerage, which is a large brokerage in Central Ohio.
Right.
3 months after, a big event like that would paralyze a lot of people.
Yeah, looking back on that, I'm like, how did I do that? But I just, every day, every day was an intentional. It was absolutely an intentional day, and I made a list, I focused, zeroed in, and like, what do I have to accomplish today? It's not, am I gonna? It's no, you're going to do this today.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
What's a 5-year goal for you?
5-year goal, in 5 years, I would like to have some agents that are working with me. I would like to develop a team in that sense, not just anybody, but somebody who can handle me and I can handle them kind of thing. Cause I can be scatterbrained and, all that. I'm sure it's just like anybody else, right? So that's something. And I enjoy the listing side, I enjoy the buyer side, but time can be my worst enemy. And, having that, so I have some buyer's agents that can help in that sense, because I do get a lot of leads from Realtor and Zillow and that kind of thing. And I feel sometimes, you're spread thin. So the 5-year goal would be to have that develop nicely so I can pick and choose, what I do and where I do.
Yeah. Are you doing anything within the business to prepare for the impact that Intel will have out your way as far as your business goes?
Um, yes and no. I've focused more on advertising, making sure my face is out there, doing more with social media and that kind of thing. We know it's coming. There's a lot of unknowns, right? Because Intel, they just said there was a year delay on things, and we know there's people here. We just don't know how fast they're coming. So one of the things that I am a part of is the Knox Board of Realtors. I'm a second-year director there. And we're having a speaker come in from our Area Development Foundation in April just to talk about some things that they know of, because knowledge is power. So that's a big area of preparation that we have, just so we can understand collectively as agents, what are we doing? So we can collaborate, because that is important. And we know our market better than most up here, and and what's coming. So that's a big area of preparation, and just that getting your face out there and advertising too is always a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Rebekah, what is a legacy goal of yours?
A legacy goal of mine, that's a great question. I think as far as that goes, I have 3 boys. The biggest legacy I can leave is my children be saved children, and children of the Lord. That's the biggest legacy I want to leave behind on a personal level, and because those are the only gifts I get to take with me, right? So those, and knowing that I'm training them up not just to be good people, but also to be leaders in the community in whatever capacity that they have. And then also in the business that I do on a daily basis, say I fast forward 20-30 years and I'm here, God willing, but to look back and to know that I did well, not just for me, but I can look back at all the families. If you did a quick flip book along the way of every single family that I've helped, I want them to have fond memories of the story of us when we bought our house. Because I always joke about, I jump into families and jump out kind of like a time traveler in a way. You're so involved, and there's times where I'm like, I just need to excuse myself. I'm not part of this family argument, or this drama that's
Yeah.
happening. Not my
Yeah.
lane. I'm getting out. But just for the lane that I was in with that family, I want them to look back with fond memories and to know that, I gave my best for them to serve them.